Springfield's News Talk FM, 104.1 KSGF. 7:35, I'm Nick Reed. Senator Blunt in studio with us. You know, gas prices were a huge deal several years ago when they were like $1.80. I mean, the people were getting ripped off, but it's amazing the difference a president can make. If you got the right guy in there, gas prices can be $4 or $5 a gallon, and, that's just the way it is. That's what we're dealing with. But you know this. While a lot of people that are in positions of power, the cost of a tank of gas you can drop on lunch, but some people that is a week's worth of groceries. I mean, that is in their budget, and it's really hard, and it is a big deal to them. When it goes up 20 cents, then that's figuring out where's that money going to come from. And one of the things that I think you're going to be at a gas station today. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to do that, talk about a bill that I've filed called the Gas Act. And the Gas Act is actually a further implementation of something that I got done in the Congress in 2005. We were able to get a law passed so that there's disruption in the fuel system. Mm-hmm. That the president, through the EPA, could waive all of these boutique fuel requirements. And in fact, ironically, Nick, that happened the president signed that just a few days, a couple of weeks before Hurricane Katrina, and immediately used the ability that we had given him in this law that I drafted to say, okay, until we get this refinery situation straightened out, gas is gasoline again. It's commodity again, rather than you've got to have a unique boutique fuel for, we have a different fuel in our state in St. Louis than we do in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Anywhere you buy gas in between is different than those two cities. And this is a further effort to try to not do things that violate the idea of the Clean Air Act, which I think has been exaggerated by EPA beyond almost all recognition. But would do our best to say there's surely not a unique blend of fuel for every single city in America. Let's try to make this product as much of a commodity as we can. And one of the things we see in the Midwest and all over the country, but particularly in the middle of the country, is whenever we transition from the winter fuel to the summer fuel, gas goes way up. Gas prices go way up, as they did here in June. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they went up 10 cents one day this week overnight. But gas prices go way up because suddenly you're disrupting the flow of fuel. You say, okay, we got to get the lines cleaned out. We got to stop the refinery so we can make the skim mocha latte for St. Louis. And tomorrow we've got to make whatever the other blend is for Kansas City. And so, energy at the bottom of this discussion, or the top, whichever way you want to look at it, is one of the great opportunities for the country. And we need to be looking at what we can do to be sure that we have good utility prices and good gas pump prices, good fuel prices at the gas pump, so that people can have jobs and people can go to work. And you're exactly right. When that gasoline that you're buying goes up $20 or $30, that very likely could mean some groceries, but it almost for sure means we're not going to go to the movies this week. That one time a week that we try to go out to a restaurant, we're not going to do that. Or frankly, the new shoes we thought we were going to buy for one of the kids this week, we're going to have to just put that off for a while. And, we're a big country where people have to travel to get to work. And particularly here in Southwest Missouri, we understand how many miles people drive to get to work so they can live somewhere where they love to live and work somewhere where they love to work.
This morning on Clark Howard, he was talking about this issue to a degree. He doesn't generally talk about political stuff, but I think it was a month ago or so, this letter, memo, whatever it was revealed by, I think, a Saudi prince saying, we could be in real trouble in the future. And right. Clark Howard was talking about just the advancements in technology have allowed us to access energy that we have here in the United States. It makes us potentially, if it sounds like we were just allowed to, like the biggest energy producer in the entire world. Yet, whether it's because of regulation or whatever, we're still dealing with the prices that we're dealing with, and importing from countries that we all claim we don't want to have to import from. How much of that is accurate? How big is the potential there, and how much of that potential is not being met because of our own doing?
Well, I think the potential is great, and a lot of it is not being met because of our own doing, because of the regulators, because of the administration's policies on these issues, the EPA. But we're eventually going to embrace this. I don't know when it'll happen, but when we do, embracing more American energy, I believe, Nick, can drive the economy like nothing since the post-World War II housing boom. We have a great opportunity here to dramatically impact our balance of trade. But it's not just the jobs that create the energy that you're looking at. It's the jobs that happen when you've got a predictable and pretty well assured utility bill, when you've got a delivery system that you know is going to work. Suddenly you start making things again. And, we have more coal than anybody in the world. We have more, now we believe we have more recoverable natural gas than anybody in the world. And we have a lot of oil. And between us and our two best trading partners, Canada and Mexico this week just took the first decisive moves to privatize or allow private activity in their petroleum industry again for the first time in about 4 decades. We could produce all the energy we use. It doesn't mean we wouldn't still buy things on the international market if that's the smart thing to do, but it does mean you wouldn't have to. And the whole world would begin to know that. The Straits of Hormuz near Iran become much safer if the United States of America isn't dependent on oil coming through there. They become much safer for the whole world because of the kind of target we are. But the bottom line here is the economy. If there is a simpler formula than more American energy equals more American jobs in the economy, I have no idea what that formula would be. I guarantee it will work. And if this president doesn't do it, surely the next president will and say, we're going to the Keystone Pipeline. Nobody understands why we haven't finished the Keystone Pipeline. We're the logical customer from that. And Canada's our best trading partner. When we send them $1, they always send us back over 90 cents. And on occasion, they send us back more than $1. But year after year, they're our best trading partner. Why wouldn't we want to give the money to Canada for that pipeline to come straight south? That oil is either coming south or it's going to go west and go to China. We need to decide what's the smartest thing for us, and frankly, what's the smartest thing for world security, which is for us to maximize our energy relationship in North America.
In the past several months, more people than I think ever have sort of awakened in a country where they feel as if they're potentially monitored, emails, tracked, whether it be the content or just to whom they're sending them and so forth. And you've introduced a Citizen Empowerment Act that I guess allows, if I'm talking to somebody that's a government agent, and I'm allowed to record those conversations. Is that correct?
Right. This would be, now you can record conversations with the IRS, but you have to give them 10 days notice. This would expand the ability to record conversations with any government agency on the phone or in person. You'd have to give notice, just like, whenever I'm talking to you over the phone, we're doing that interview, somebody says this conversation is being recorded. But you'd have to give notice, but everybody knows that you can do this, and you don't have to give 10 days notice. You have to say, hey, I think I'm going to record this conversation based on the tone you're taking with me, and then suddenly you do that. We've got to level the playing field between people and their government. Democracies function based on trust. Repressive governments function based on too many laws that everybody knows nobody can possibly obey, and when they want to come and get you, they can. The Citizen Empowerment Act, Congresswoman Jenkins in our neighbor right across the border in Kansas and I have co-sponsored that in the House and Senate. The House has already passed it, and hopefully the Senate will as well. And the other thing that I've sponsored is a bill for these so-called senior government employees that are almost impossible to fire. So, one, you can fire a Lois Lerner if you find out that she has really done what it appears she may have done. And two, you don't have to put her on leave with pay. You could put her on leave without pay if you think this is egregious. And you find out you were wrong, you can always go back and return the pay later if you were wrong rather than that government employee was wrong. But if you've got somebody doing those things, and then Rand Paul and I are sponsoring a bill called the REINS Act, which would require the government the Congress to vote on regulations that have economic impact. And you name the number, and I'm for it. But whatever we could get passed, if you have economic impact, you can make the rule agency of the government, but the Congress has to approve the rule. And those are the kinds of things. I've sponsored the REINS Act for years, but I believe now people are much more engaged in this fight with me than they have been in the past, when there is now a sense that, the government is suddenly not treating everybody the same way, and we need to do whatever it takes to see that everybody gets treated the same way.
We're talking with Senator Blunt in the last couple minutes here. There seems to be, with a lot of people that follow and pay attention to what's going on, a sense of hopelessness in terms of even their elected officials don't seem to be able to have any control over the executive branch right now. We watch things such as, like the DREAM Act, where Obama himself had said before an audience, well, I can't just do this on my own. That's unconstitutional. He did it anyway. With Obamacare, just arbitrarily deciding what parts he will and won't implement and to whom they apply. And there's just this sense that, I think Marco Rubio reflected, he talked about if we don't pass something, then Obama will just unilaterally change the law however he wants to anyway. And it seems as if there's this sense of we don't really have any control, that we currently have a president that just changes laws when he wants to, if he doesn't like them, or if Congress doesn't do what it is he wants them to do, even though it's unconstitutional, he'll just go ahead and put it into place. I mean, is there a sense on Capitol Hill of that as well, or do you think that's just something that, clearly not all of America feels it, but I know there are patches of the country that do.
Well, I think there's great frustration out there, and particularly surrounding the direction the government's taken the last 5 years, great frustration about what people see happening in the government, and that was probably heightened when not only did President Obama get reelected, but Republicans and conservatives even lost a couple of seats in the Senate in a year when I think most of us thought we're going to gain seats in the Senate, and the way to replace the president's bad policies is a president that will sign the bill that does that. And so we are at a level of real frustration. I'm pretty frustrated by a Senate and a House that can't get the work done. I do think a couple of things. One is that this Budget Control Act, that most times just referred to as the sequestration project process, is a good idea. It's not the perfect idea, but it's the one thing that the president accidentally handed us as conservatives that actually will cut and is cutting government spending. And we need to hang on to the tools we have. We need to continue to fight a health care plan that won't work, constant discussion about increasing taxes, which will hurt the economy. The president just doesn't seem to have an appreciation for what talking about raising taxes, higher utility cost, questions about whether the health care system for employers and employees is going to go forward or not, how that impacts the economy. And, as I've been saying for years now, the number one domestic goal of the federal government should be more private sector jobs. And what do you do to create that environment rather than what do you do to hold that environment back?
Well, Senator Blunt, appreciate it. It's always good to have you here. I know a lot of times we have to do it over the phone because you were in Washington. So it's. Well,
I'm always glad to do that, and I'm glad to be here in the studio with you today, Nick.
Appreciate it. Good to see you, sir.
See you.
All right.